So you mentioned kind of startup porn or mantras that we hear. You gave me quite a few before we did this, and I love them. And so I want to start with one, and it's the idea that you have to be passionate about essentially your domain that you pursue.
Yes.
You have to choose something that you love, and you say that's not true.
I think it's absolute bullshit. Excuse my French, but
why is that?
So I have many friends, successful entrepreneurs, and some of them, actually one of them lives in Canada, and he is in the insurance space. And I can guarantee you he's not passionate about the insurance space. I've never met a single person who is passionate about the domain of insurance. Maybe you might have, but I haven't.
Terribly boring. I'm so bored by insurance.
And so that's just not, that's just not true. He's very successful. The business is very successful. I'm the living example of this. I think, Tripledot is a company that's doing quite well, but I'm not a gamer by definition. Now, it depends on what you mean by gamer, but any kind of definition you have, I am not a hardcore gamer. I do like games. I like the business of games. I like the philosophy of games, but I'm not a gamer. I am passionate about winning, and I think that's the biggest difference, because I think I invest in a lot of companies as myself as well, and I think the thing that people like, I guess, working with me is I don't have this incentive to give people this startup porn advice, right? I say, and there's a lot of them out there. So I think being passionate about the domain that you're in is great. It's a luxury. It's not a must to have.
I think a lot of people say if you're not passionate about it, and I agree with you there, but I think a lot of people say if you're not passionate about it, when the hard times come and it's a bad day, you'll give up. Yeah. How do you respond to that?
I think you have to be passionate about winning. I think we're all wired differently, right? If you're passionate about winning, when the hard times do come, and they will come, in anything in life, then you need this internal engine to propel you through. But that passion doesn't have to be directed to the domain. I think it's a very Western-centric view of the world to think that you have to be passionate about the domain that you're in. And I think that ends up actually in quite dangerous territory, because a lot of people who are passionate for winning, who are just, hard learners, hard workers and learners, they end up not pursuing perfectly good, lucrative jobs because of this kind of advice. Sure. Don't get me wrong, if you're one of the few people that have, like Eyal is a great example, right? Like Eyal was born to be in the gaming industry. If I saw him doing anything else, I would forcefully take him out of there and then put him in the gaming industry. But that's a luxury. That's not the rule.
I don't know if you've actually seen studies on post-baby effects, and it analyzes entrepreneurs post having a baby, either man or woman, but actually they are like significantly higher likelihood to be successful. I think it goes back to your thing, they might not be passionate, but actually you have the passion to succeed for your child's welfare, for their life to come. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. That checks out so much, because earlier at the beginning of the show, one of the things we talked about is how much I respect you, right? And I think you're unstoppable because you have a why, right? The thing with your mother and, that's your why. And as long as you have a why, you can bear anyhow. Yeah. So you just have to find your own why. That why does not have to be the domain that you're operating in.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm fascinated. We always hear this, like, people are scared to say, like, actually, I'm doing it for the money. I really don't. Do you think we are overly cynical about people who do it for the money, and we kind of actually stigmatize it wrongly?
That is such a good point. Absolutely. Yes. It's okay to do it for the money. Yeah. It's okay. I'm not doing it for the money, but you know what? Money is a great plus. Sure. I mean, money doesn't buy you happiness, but it can eliminate some forms of unhappiness, right? And a lot of people fetishize this kind of, grandiose meanings in life and, what it means to have a mission statement and you put it on the wall. And I just think there's just so much there's just so much lack of genuineness around this that, you know what? A lot of people are doing it for the money. Other people, like me, we're doing it because we think we're good at it and we want to win. And we just happen to found something that we are good at doing, and that drives us. You might be doing it for, your mom, money. I'm doing it for my kids. I want them to be proud of, these are all perfectly acceptable solutions.
The lovely thing about us being so close is like we can have a very frank. I always was doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Always. But then the hardest thing came when I actually kind of had a little bit. I can be frank. We had $1 million on my balcony. I was like 21. And that's like, I watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Chris Harris.
Yeah.
Then I'll be happy. And I didn't have any friends. And I didn't really have anything. And I had my mother and that was it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then that was a really hard moment because you're like, well, then I don't actually know what makes me happy.
Yes. You know what? That's why the relationships that you form in life are the true wealth. They truly are. But it's such a human nature to want to experience the good things in life and and money is, money probably shouldn't be your number one goal.
Yeah.
But you know what? If that's what drives you, and that's totally okay.
I wish people would come into hiring processes and say it if it is, because I would structure incentives to make them get more money if they achieve goals.
Yes.
But they don't. They talk about their passions and their visions, and it's like not their passions and visions. Now, another startup porn thing that you said, which I loved, was you have to be solving a real problem.
Yes.
Again, didn't agree with that one, did you?
Yeah, I mean, this one is so look. The world doesn't need another solitaire app, right? So from that lens, we really weren't solving a real problem, right? And I'm not necessarily super opposed to this in the sense that I'm not advocating you don't solve a real problem. I mean, of course, if you happen to solve a real problem, that's fantastic and more power to you. But how many, aspiring entrepreneurs I've spoken with that just thought this was the starting point. This was the point they get off the ground. And the fact of the matter is true innovation happens through iteration, right? You start working on something and you iterate, you do this thing 1% different, this thing 1% different, and then the aggregate impact ends up being something completely innovative. So I don't like this advice in the sense that I don't think it's necessarily just false, but I think it's a bit misleading because it's okay. We started out building a solitaire app. One of the companies that I was very fortunate to partner with is Dream Games, and they're building a match 3 game. And you know what? World has plenty of match 3 games, but theirs is performing much better now. So, there's this thing that you have to be, solving a real problem of building something that doesn't exist. And if you're lucky enough to find something like that, by all means, I'm not disparaging that, but not everyone has to do that.